Have you ever noticed how one harmless thought can snowball into a storm of mental noise, flooding your mind with doubt, fear, and what-ifs that never seem to end? It begins quietly, an unresolved question, a passing worry, and then without warning, you find yourself lost in a maze of overthinking, replaying the past and predicting a future that hasn't even arrived. But what if those thoughts weren't you? What if they were just passing clouds in a sky you still control? Now imagine standing still in the eye of that mental storm, not fighting the wind, but observing it. This is where Stoicism enters not as a dry philosophy, but as a guide to reclaiming your inner calm. In a world that thrives on constant stimulation, the Stoic approach shows us how to pause, how to breathe, how to listen to the quiet voice behind the noise. The thoughts may keep coming, but you don't have to follow them. What if you could learn not just to survive the storm, but to move through it with clarity? And once the noise fades, something incredible happens. Space opens up inside you. Space for clarity, presence, even joy. This is where we turn overthinking into wisdom, not by silencing our thoughts, but by learning how to hold them lightly. So, as we walk this path together, guided by the words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, ask yourself, are you ready to transform your inner world, one thought, one breath, one action at a time? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Have you ever felt trapped inside your own thoughts, your mind echoing with endless noise and self-doubt? Perhaps you've experienced that moment of paralysis when a simple decision becomes an agonizing dilemma, or when overthinking spirals into mental exhaustion. You're not alone. We've all been there, replaying conversations we've already had, predicting scenarios that may never happen, trying to solve an endless loop of what-ifs that clutter our present moment. Today, we'll face that challenge head-on with 10 practical Stoic strategies designed to help you break free from the cycle of overthinking and reclaim your mental space. If you've been searching for a way to silence the inner chatter and rediscover peace of mind, now's the time to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because what follows might just change the way you think. Imagine your habit of overthinking not as something that is you, but as something that visits you. It drifts in unexpectedly, like a dense fog swallowing a clear morning. It often begins with a single thought, a concern, a worry, a lingering question. And before you realize it, it expands into a storm that threatens your emotional balance. In today's world flooded with non-stop information and digital noise, this mental fog rolls in more often than we'd like. One anxious thought leads to another, and soon we find ourselves caught in a downpour of doubts and imagined futures. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher of ancient Rome, taught that the happiness of our lives depends on the quality of our thoughts. That's why our first technique is so powerful. It reframes overthinking as something external, not an enemy to fight, but a phenomenon to recognize. These thoughts are not who we are. They are visitors, disturbances passing through the calm landscape of our minds. Visualize them as drifting clouds above a mountain. You are that mountain, steady, grounded, and untouched by the ever-changing sky. How do we resist being swept away by these mental clouds? The Stoic approach is simple but profound. Observe without becoming entangled. Picture placing your racing thoughts inside a clear, floating bubble. Watch it gently rise and drift away without judgment or resistance. This practice is more than imagination. It's training for the mind. It teaches us that thoughts are transient, and they only disturb our peace when we cling to them or grant them undue importance. By practicing this visualization regularly, you begin to build a mental reflex. Instead of reacting to every intrusive thought, you learn to release them before they escalate into emotional turbulence. The more often you train yourself to step back from this flood of inner noise, the more you'll realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. This awareness becomes a kind of mental shield. Like earplugs in a crowded room, It blocks out the chaos and brings your focus inward. But it takes commitment. It's a discipline that grows stronger with each conscious effort. So next time you catch yourself lost in loops of thought, pause. Remind yourself these are just sounds in the mind, not reflections of your true self. And with that insight, we move to the next strategy. A Stoic exercise that builds on this foundation, helping you anchor yourself even more deeply in the present moment. Previously, we learned how to step back from our thoughts to observe them without becoming consumed. Now let's take that practice one step further and explore how to redirect our mental energy with intention so we can reclaim our focus and find true inner clarity. Have you ever felt trapped in a never-ending spiral of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios playing the same anxious loops over and over in your head until you're mentally drained? It's like having dozens of browser tabs open in your mind, each one autoplaying a video at full volume and no pause button in sight. That's cognitive overload, a signature condition of our modern age. With so many demands pulling at us simultaneously, it's easy to get swept into a whirlwind of overthinking and mental noise. But just like a messy desk must be cleared before any real work can happen, a cluttered mind must be reset before clarity can return. Regaining control of your mental energy isn't just about finding peace. It's about re-establishing your inner order and dialing down the volume of those intrusive thoughts about what could go wrong so you can finally appreciate what's actually right in front of you. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." That quote captures the very heart of this next strategy. When you shift your focus from tomorrow's fears to today's actions, you begin to pull yourself out of the overthinking loop and step into the present with both feet. Start by anchoring yourself in the now, even through something small. It could be tidying your workspace, going for a short walk, or becoming absorbed in the pages of a book. Choose an activity, any activity that requires your full attention. These small acts become anchors to the present moment, breaking the chain of worry and bringing your mind back to solid ground. The point here is not distraction, but intention. You're not escaping your thoughts, you're guiding them. Stoicism doesn't ask us to erase our thinking. It invites us to structure it, to choose where and how our energy is spent. Each time you consciously redirect your attention towards something meaningful, you're practicing mental discipline. You're training your mind like a muscle building strength, control, and resilience. The goal isn't to banish overthinking completely, because let's face it, that's not realistic. Instead, it's to develop awareness. When you recognize that your thoughts are no longer serving you, that they've shifted from reflection to rumination, you gain the power to steer your mental ship back on course. This discipline, like any training, takes effort and repetition. But over time, you'll notice a change. The once overwhelming waves of overthinking will begin to calm. One by one, they lose their grip as you meet them, not with panic, but with presence. You learn that it's possible to ride through them, not by suppressing the thoughts, but by moving deliberately through each moment, action by action. And from here, with your focus sharpened and your presence reclaimed, we turn to the next principle, a lesson rooted in the inevitable rhythm of life. A reminder that letting go is not weakness, but wisdom. Let's explore the power of accepting impermanence and practicing detachment. Building upon our previous reflection, we learned how redirecting our mental focus to the present can help silence the noise of overthinking. Now we explore an even deeper truth, a truth at the heart of Stoic philosophy, the acceptance of impermanence. Seneca once offered a sobering reminder that many of us spend our time breathing without truly living. This thought may seem unsettling, but it invites us to reflect honestly on how we use our minds and where we place our attention. When we overthink, we often cling tightly to our thoughts, holding them close as if they define who we are. But in reality, thoughts are fleeting. They are not carved into our identity. They come and go like shadows across a wall. By practicing the art of letting go, we begin to loosen that grip. Imagine your worries as autumn leaves falling from a tree. They drift downward land for a moment and then are carried away by the wind. In this visualization, we don't pretend the leaves never existed. We don't force them to disappear. We simply acknowledge their temporary presence and allow them to move on. This shift in perspective is powerful. It teaches us that we don't need to suppress our thoughts or pretend they hold no weight. Instead, we can observe them with calm detachment, knowing they are passing clouds, not permanent storms. When we stop letting them take root, they no longer grow into chronic concerns that rob us of peace. Each time you find yourself holding tightly to a persistent worry or anxious idea, gently remind yourself, this too is temporary. It is not forever. Practicing this mindset takes time. It requires patience and repetition, but over time it becomes a skill, a form of inner strength. And with it, you gain the ability to face life's daily uncertainties with a calm heart and a clear mind. As humans, we all carry worries. They hum in the background of our lives like the quiet buzz of a refrigerator. Not loud, but always there. These worries creep in during the work, during rest in moments of joy, and even late at night when sleep refuses to come. It's as if our minds are stages taken over by restless actors who refuse to leave the spotlight. This is where the wisdom of Epictetus offers clarity. He once said, "If you want to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid." At first, this seems counterintuitive, but what he truly meant was this: don't let your fear of looking unprepared or naive rob you of your inner calm. Sometimes the most courageous choice is to let go of how others perceive you and focus instead on preserving your peace. One practical technique rooted in this idea is the worry appointment. Rather than allowing your mind to stew in anxiety all day, designate a specific time to confront your concerns. Choose a moment, perhaps 20 minutes in the early evening, when you give yourself full permission to worry. During this time, let your concerns surface. Examine them. Write them down if needed. Ask yourself, where do these thoughts come from? Are they likely to happen? Can I influence them? What actions can I take? What you'll often discover is surprising. Many worries, when looked at under a brighter light, shrink in size. What once seemed overwhelming turns out to be flimsy, like shadows cast by something small. By creating a structured time and place for your worries, your mind begins to understand that worry doesn't need to be constant. It can have boundaries. And once that dedicated time is up, gently close the door. You've given your concerns a place to exist. Now it's time to put them down. This process helps you regain command of your mental space. It doesn't demand that you eliminate worry altogether. That would be unrealistic. But by containing it, you reduce its power. It's a bit like tidying a cluttered room, putting each thought where it belongs, rather than letting it spill into every corner of your life. And from this restored sense of order, we move forward to the next lesson, a practice that will help us train not only how we think, but how we speak to ourselves. It's time to discover the quiet strength of internal dialogue. Once your worries have been acknowledged and placed where they belong, something remarkable happens. Your mind begins to breathe again. You start to enjoy the stillness of an ordered space. You may even notice that once your worries are confined, their grip weakens. Life in turn becomes lighter, more manageable, and even more joyful. One of the most effective techniques for regaining control when you're overwhelmed is learning how to break down those crushing thoughts into smaller, actionable steps. Picture this: you're carrying a massive boulder on your shoulders, a symbolic weight of responsibilities, expectations, and unspoken fears. Each thought, each obligation, each fear is another stone added to that already heavy load. Marcus Aurelius understood this burden well. He once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In these simple yet powerful words, he encourages us not to view obstacles as immovable blocks, but as parts of the path itself challenges we must step through, not around. So what does this look like in practice? When you're facing a daunting worry or a complex problem, don't try to solve it all at once. Instead, ask yourself, what is the very next small action I can take? What is one immediate step that I can do now, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now? By focusing your attention entirely on that one step, something shifts. The mountain begins to shrink. You transform anxious, paralyzing energy into momentum. This approach is like untangling a large knot one thread at a time. You're not ignoring how complex the problem is, you're simply choosing to navigate it with clarity and purpose. What makes this technique so effective is its compounding effect. Each tiny success builds confidence. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to a rhythm of progress. And before long, the intimidating boulder of worry has become a trail of smaller stones, each one already stepped over one by one. This method fosters both patience and resilience. It reinforces the belief that you are capable of handling life no matter how overwhelming it may appear at first. What once seemed impossible becomes something you've already conquered, and the relentless cycle of overthinking slowly dissolves into something clearer, calmer, and more grounded. But there's another powerful shift you can make, one that opens your perspective and clears the emotional fog. Imagine opening the windows in a room filled with smoke and letting in a breeze of fresh, clean air. That's what happens when you move your mind away from scarcity and turn it toward gratitude. You see, our minds have a tendency to trap us in obsessive loops about what's missing, what might go wrong, or what we haven't yet achieved. This is a draining habit that strips away joy and clouds our appreciation for what's already present. Overthinking often feeds on negativity, on the fear of what's lacking, while the good slips quietly into the background. Seneca captured the antidote perfectly when he wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This thought isn't just poetic, it's practical. It forms the foundation of the next Stoic strategy, the practice of gratitude. By deliberately focusing on the positive aspects of your life, you shine light on what often goes unnoticed. Gratitude is not about ignoring your problems. It's about giving equal, if not greater, attention to your blessings. Whether it's your relationships, your health, your progress at work, or even something as small as a peaceful morning or a warm cup of tea, there is always something worthy of recognition. And here's the key: gratitude isn't a passive reflection, it's an intentional action. And in our next section, we'll discover exactly how to make that action part of your daily rhythm so it becomes not just a moment of calm, but a way of seeing the world. Let's explore how gratitude can train your mind to see clearly, even in the fog of overthinking. Practicing gratitude not only brings your mind back to the present moment, it also gently reorients your thinking toward what is constructive and fulfilling. It acts as a direct antidote to overthinking by shifting your attention from anxiety to appreciation, allowing you to rediscover the richness and quiet beauty of your life through a completely new lens. As you break the cycle of repetitive thoughts and actively engage in gratitude, you begin to build a mindset that is more positive, more centered, and more resilient. This doesn't mean denying your struggles or pretending your challenges don't exist. Instead, it means choosing not to let those hardships dominate your inner narrative. Gratitude is like a muscle, and just like any muscle, it can be strengthened with consistent training. With time and practice, this habit of noticing the good, no matter how small, can transform a mindset of scarcity into a deep appreciation for the fullness of life. Another powerful tool in your Stoic toolkit is the practice of meditation and mindfulness. Imagine a ship in a stormy sea anchor dropped holding steady amidst crashing waves. That anchor is what meditation offers your mind in the chaos of overthinking. It gives you a fixed point to return to, a place of calm, amidst the noise of a restless inner world. Overthinking often feels like wave after wave crashing against your focus, pulling your attention away from clarity and into confusion. Meditation trains you to remain grounded, to stay at that anchor point even when mental waves rise high. Through deliberate breathing or the repetition of a simple mantra, meditation allows you to momentarily step back from the flood of thoughts and return to a center of stillness. With daily practice, this mental retreat becomes a sanctuary, a place where you observe thoughts as passing visitors rather than as truths you must obey. Mindfulness. The natural extension of meditation takes that awareness and brings it into everyday life. It's about showing up fully to each moment, welcoming thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. Instead of being pulled backward by regret or forward by anticipation, mindfulness teaches you to dwell in the here and now. It allows you to notice the quiet details, the sunlight on your hands, the warmth of your coffee, the pause between your breaths that overthinking often hides. In cultivating this presence, you develop a powerful skill, the ability to respond to life rather than react to it. Together, meditation and mindfulness don't just help reduce overthinking. They give you tools to better manage stress and build a durable sense of peace. A peace that isn't dependent on external conditions, but rooted deep within. Yet even as we train the mind, one of the greatest sources of mental distraction remains ever-present technology. In the digital age, our devices have become constant companions, but with every buzz, ping, and pop-up, they feed the mental clutter that fuels overthinking. To reclaim mental clarity, it's essential to draw intentional boundaries around your digital life. Start small, introduce moments of intentional disconnection. Choose a few periods during the day to completely power down no emails, no scrolling, no notifications. Use this time for activities that restore you. Reading, meditating, walking outdoors. These tech-free zones give your brain room to breathe. Next, take control of your notifications. Go into your settings and turn off any alerts that are non-essential. The fewer interruptions you receive, the fewer temptations you'll face to fall into endless scrolling and mental overstimulation. And finally, establish fixed schedules for checking emails and social media. By limiting your interaction with digital content to set times, perhaps twice a day, you give yourself the gift of uninterrupted focus for everything else. You train your brain to engage deeply rather than dart from distraction to distraction. By creating boundaries around your digital life, you don't just reduce overthinking, you rebuild attention, purpose, and peace. And now, with your thoughts quieter, your space clearer, and your energy more focused, we turn to the next principle in our Stoic journey, a shift in self-perception that allows us to rewrite our internal story. Let's explore the power of reframing your thoughts. We ended the last section by exploring how setting digital boundaries can help quiet the mental noise of modern life. But there's one more simple yet powerful step you can take intentionally: scheduling digital pauses. This could mean turning off your phone one evening per week, unplugging on weekends, or fully disconnecting during holidays. These moments away from the digital world are not about restriction, but restoration. They create space for you to reconnect with yourself, with loved ones, and with the world around you. And when you establish and honor these boundaries, something begins to shift inside. Your mind grows quieter. The need to immediately respond to every ping, buzz, or notification starts to fade. With fewer interruptions, your attention deepens, your stress lowers, and your inner world becomes less cluttered. You gain breathing room not just in your schedule, but in your spirit. Now let's address one of the quietest yet most damaging contributors to overthinking: the harshness of our inner voice. Overthinking is often laced with self-judgment, with thoughts that criticize, doubt, and demand perfection. But what if you could change that voice? What if instead of being your own harshest critic, you learned to be your own most compassionate companion? This is the essence of self-compassion. It's the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness and patience that you would offer a close friend. So when your thoughts feel overwhelming, or when you find yourself trapped in a cycle of self-blame, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself that you deserve empathy, especially from yourself. Speak to yourself with gentleness. Embrace your thoughts without judgment. Forgive yourself for your mistakes and gently encourage yourself to move forward. Self-compassion isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to keep going even when your inner world feels messy. Still, sometimes even self-compassion isn't enough to break free from the mental maze we find ourselves in. Because let's face it, our minds can be labyrinths, twisting and turning, adding new pieces to puzzles we thought we'd already solved. We try to think our way out only to find ourselves more entangled than before. This is the trap of overthinking a loop that starts and ends within our own thoughts with no clear exit in sight. Seneca offered timeless advice when he said, "Consult your friend on everything, especially on matters that concern you." In those words lies a profound truth. When your perspective becomes too clouded by your own emotions, it's okay, even wise, to seek another viewpoint. Stoicism teaches that turning to others can help disrupt the cycle of rumination, whether it's a trusted friend, a mentor, or even the wisdom found in a book. Outside perspectives offer clarity that our self-judgment often hides from us. In today's world, this might look like calling a friend whose opinion you respect, or speaking with a counselor, a coach, or simply someone who listens without interruption. The act of putting your thoughts into words, of saying them out loud, can bring clarity that thinking alone never could. It can also open the door to feedback that reveals options and possibilities you hadn't considered. And more than that, it reminds you that you're not alone. Human connection, after all, is one of the most powerful forms of medicine. When we share our burdens, they often lose their weight. When we open up, we allow the strength of others to meet our vulnerability, not to replace it, but to help carry it. So let the wisdom of others be your guiding light out of the shadows of overthinking. With each heartfelt conversation, you may find the puzzle becoming just a bit easier to solve. Not because your problems have disappeared, but because you're no longer trying to solve them in isolation. And now, we'd love to hear from you. What helps you step out of your own mental labyrinth? How has the insight or compassion of others brought you clarity? Share your reflections in the comments below, because your voice could be the light for someone else. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more insights on how ancient wisdom can meet modern minds, because your journey to inner peace has only just begun. Let this be more than just the end of a video. Let it be the continuation of a shared journey, a voyage of learning and self-discovery guided by the light of Stoic wisdom. Every comment you leave, every like you share, every subscription you make helps us grow a community of engaged minds and reflective souls. Together, we build more than a channel. We build a space where thoughtfulness thrives and wisdom is passed on one insight at a time. Step by step, side by side, we walk the ancient path once traveled by the Stoic sages. And with every conversation, every spark of understanding, we help light the way for one another. So, are you ready for what comes next? Let's keep going. The next chapter of the Stoic journey awaits.